Social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. All visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on the news at this hour on NT News International. I am Elizabeth Omori. Now let's take the headlines. Northeast Nigeria witnesses improvement in food security. Negotiation on consequential adjustments on minimum wage moves to states. Federal government to boost the nation's economy through foreign direct investments. Thank you so much for joining us. Now let's begin with food security. There has been a reduction in the number of people facing acute food insecurity in northeast Nigeria. The number has dropped significantly from 5.2 million in June 2017 to 2.9 million in August 2019. Musa Babali reports that this was contained in a food crisis report released by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization and other agencies monitoring the food crisis in 16 states of the country.
Says in terms of food security and malnutrition, out of that number, Adamawa, Borno and Yobe State have 4.2 million people experiencing food crisis.
The improvement has largely been due to the efforts of government and massive intervention of humanitarian communities, without which the situation would have been worsened. FAO will continue to work with her partners in the provision of livelihood assistance to the vulnerable groups identified through this process.
However, the prevalence of acute malnutrition remains high in Northeast, with Yobe having the highest number of affected persons.
We now need to continue to work together as donors, as implementers, as government, to make sure that we meet the emergency needs of the people that are identified through this process, but also to address the underlying root causes of why these people are in this situation.
To this end, the United Nations, federal agencies and affected state governments have agreed to work together towards addressing food insecurity in the country.
Attaining food and nutrition security remains a cardinal objective of the government, and as such, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development remain resolute in supporting an initiative that are geared towards attaining this mandate.
The rain season has been stopped and we started our dry season irrigation farming. 10,000 farmers with support of token amount 10,000 naira to each or one of them.
More than 4 million dry season farmers across the 16 states are expected to receive more support. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
From food security, we now move to health. The health challenges confronting Nigeria's growing population and the need for stakeholders in the health sector to keep strengthening the partnership were issues discussed at the national dissemination and official launch of the 2018 Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey Report. Oluseyi Adiagbo was at the International Conference Center, venue of the meeting, and now reports.
From its synopsis, 2018 Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey NDHS report examines both the progresses achieved and the challenges yet to be successfully tackled in Nigeria's health sector, as it breaks down data on malaria, sickle cell disease, domestic violence, and more. One of the essence of sharing the findings is to help inform and influence the decision makers who formulate health policy. Though the launching marks the end of the data collection and analysis phase, it is the beginning of efforts to harness the data and improving the health of families and communities throughout Nigeria.
The Federal Ministry of Health will make good use of the findings in policy formulation and alignment of our strategies and interventions in the health sector.
Stakeholders and foreign partners in separate submissions welcome the findings in the report, citing its importance in efforts to meet the United Nations Millennium Development Goals (MDGs). For the acting chairman, National Population Commission, the inclusion of persons with disability and their health challenges as captured in the 2018 NDHS report is the first of its kind, highlighting the present administration's concern for the physically challenged in the country.
These allow the Commission to collect information on disability status of Nigerians for the first time. I'd like to state here, this is also in view of the directives of Mr. President that every Nigerian counts.
Chike Okogwe damaged his spinal cord in 2006 in a car crash. He applauded the initiative, saying it will go a long way to alleviating their plight.
It's a starting point, and with the act the act signed by President Buhari protecting persons with disabilities in place now, we're sure that El Dorado is not far from here.
Since 1990, Nigeria has conducted 6 demographic and health surveys. The 2018 edition is jointly worked by the National Population Commission, the National Malaria Elimination Program of the Federal Ministry of Health, and other development partners. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
Now, despite the billions of dollars invested in dams across the country by the federal government, stakeholders are now suggesting the involvement of private investors as a necessary tool to unlock the vast potential in the sector. This was at the 2019 National Conference of the Nigerian Committee on Large Dams holding in Abuja. Musbah Danwahab reports.
Gurara Dam in Kaduna State impounds water for onward transmission to the Lower Usuma Dam, which in turn supplies pipe-borne water to the FCT. But more of its potentials, such as 30 megawatts of electricity, has been trapped for many years due to inadequate funding to evacuate the power. Now, it takes concessioning for the potentials to see the light of day.
We have invested so much money on dams, but we have not been using them effectively. There are so many large dams across the country that are lying waste, some of them for more than 20 years.
But then, much more than 30 megawatts of electricity remains untapped in most of the 264 medium and large dams around the country. Out of about 12,220 megawatts hydropower potential that Nigeria currently has, only about 1,930 megawatts has been developed. But just like in the case of Gurara Dam, participants here say public-private partnership again holds the key to the potentials in the sector.
It is therefore important that we develop new approaches and strategies that will make us achieve the fundamental objectives of the federal government on food sufficiency and power supply through effective use of our dams.
The quite low audio in that report. Now to the environment. Minister of Environment Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar has re-emphasized federal government's commitment at ensuring that the community-based waste management program, if sustained, will bring an end to municipal solid waste regime in the country. The minister stated this at the inauguration and handover of waste management project to Nasarawa State Government in Karo. Suraj Abdullahi reports.
Particularly in Nigeria's urban areas, have been the major environmental challenge. Different factors contribute to the menace. These include rural-urban migration, overpopulation, industrialization, poor urban planning, and lack of adequate resources and facilities. To mitigate this challenge, Federal Ministry of Environment cited this community-based waste management project in Karu, not only as waste management strategy, but also to generate employment and create wealth. Minister of Environment Muhammad Mahmoud Abubakar, while handing over the project to Nasarawa State Government, said the project has the capacity to ensure the proper management of waste in an environmentally friendly manner, which is in line with the global best practice.
The program is also expected to, among other things, train and generate employment, particularly for youth and women, attract private sector participation and investment, including foreign direct investment.
Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule assures the Minister of effective utilization of the facility, describing it as a pragmatic approach to solving environmental challenge.
By the grace of God, we will ensure effective, efficient, and maximum utilization of this project. The reason is because we here in Nasarawa State have taken the issue of environment very, very seriously.
The facility includes backlog evacuation, plastic recycling plants, waste trucks, among others. From Karu, Suraj Abdullahi, NTA News.
Into appointments, President Muhammad Buhari has approved the appointment of Dr. Sarah Omotunde Alade as a special advisor to the President of Finance and the Economy, domiciled in the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. In a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu says Dr. Alade, who also acted briefly in 2014 as a CBN governor, holds BSc in Economics and PhD in Management Science Operations Research. Retired from the Central Bank of Nigeria as Deputy Governor in 2017 after spending 23 years in the Apex Bank. And out to the Boundary Commission. The board of the National Boundary Commission had a successful 10th meeting with Vice President Yemi Osinbajo in attendance. The meeting, among other issues, discussed the need for proper advocacy, sensitization and seminars to educate the populace on the work of the Boundary Commission and the essence of boundaries as administrative limits of state as against the people's perception of traditional boundaries.
So we plan that we'll carry out a comprehensive ethnographic study along the boundary to identify all the communities along the boundary. We've also agreed that a monitoring team of security personnel will be constituted to ensure peaceful coexistence while we resume activities of trying to define the boundary.
Now to the Senate. The Senate has confirmed 15 out of the 16 nominees as members of the Governing Board of the Niger Delta Development Commission. The Senate Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission, while presenting its report on the screening of the nominees, explained that one of them, Joy Nunez, representing Rivers State, did not appear for the screening. The Senate also confirmed Justice John Soho and Benedict Kanyip as Chief Judge of the Federal High Court and President of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria. 11 bills were passed for first reading, including the Financial Bill 2019. And out to security, Northwest governors have met to deliberate on ways to tackle the challenges of insecurity in the geopolitical zones. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, urged citizens to support the armed forces and be vigilant enough to report suspicious moves in their communities so as to put an end to the security challenges.
This event is convened within the context of our community policing initiative and as part of the strategies of the Nigeria Police to employ an all-inclusive approach towards aiding us in the achievement of our internal security mandate.
The process requires a holistic approach that promotes peace, stability and social cohesion by addressing the rehabilitation of infrastructure and services and addresses underlying macroeconomic issues to overcome the nexus of instability, conflict, and deteriorating development.
The summit is not only to deliberate on the challenges, but to provide solutions in the country's best interest. This is the news. Thanks for staying with us. The leadership of the Joint Negotiating Council of Consequential Adjustment of Salaries at the state level has risen from its meeting with a resolution urging governments to begin negotiation. Emmanuel Ayimuro will bring us details of this report in subsequent bulletin. And for business news, let's join Oninge Fineface.
Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele says despite the current global uncertainties that made the International Monetary Fund to review the global economic growth from 3.3% to 3%, Nigeria's economic outlook remains positive. He said this while delivering the keynote address at the African Economic Congress held in Abuja. Emefiele said the Apex Bank is implementing various initiatives that had put the economy on the path of sustainable development, adding that there is no cause for panic. He said Nigeria has recorded spectacular improvements in domestic production of most targeted items. Local manufacturers are consequently reporting major boosts to their revenue and profits. The CBN governor said Nigeria remains resilient with a positive outlook despite rising global uncertainties. Away from that, Minister of Trade and Investment Adeniyi Adebayo says the federal government will be a major shareholder in the Nigeria Special Economic Zones Company. Adebayo said this in Abuja when he appeared before the Senate Committee on Appropriation. He said the Special Economic Zone belongs to the federal government with contributions from the private sector. Funds appropriated for the company amounting to 14 billion naira, the minister said, is in the coffers of the central bank. Time now to see how the equities market fared this Tuesday. That's business. I'm Onengiye Fineface.
And away from business, aging is a transitory period of maturation that everybody must go through. Some age with a fear of the unknown, while some devise various means to help themselves, since they see no plan for care and support services. To change the narrative and take away the fears of aging is the reason for the second National Conference on Aging, put together by Coalition of Societies of Rights of Older Persons in Niger. Basi Itaikman reports.
Joseph is a senior citizen who, during his active age, served the country in various capacity. Joseph, like many others, came from various states with excitement, formally registered to be part of the program that is intended to give the elderly a better life. They told me that the conference is an opportunity for them to meet and discuss with old friends. Their aim is to awaken the consciousness of Nigerians towards promoting their well-being, welfare, and dignity.
So what we're saying is, one, let there be a legal framework defining the rights and privileges that accrue to an older person.
The rights and privileges of the older persons has to do with what are the government plans for the older persons in terms of health, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of healthy living.
Several issues bordering on the elderly persons in the country were brought to the fore.
That thousands of the older persons die every year from chronic diseases that can be prevented or controlled to achieve healthy and productive lives. This is not acceptable.
The second National Conference on Aging focused on taking the rights and privileges of the older persons in Nigeria to the next level. Basi Taipang, NTA News.
Into foreign affairs, Nigeria is well into the process of diversifying its economy with emphasis in sectors such as agriculture, mining, solid minerals, and manufacturing. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this Tuesday when he received the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nicaragua and the Minister for Special Delegation of the President for Africa, Middle East and Arab, Mohamed Farara Lashter. Receiving on behalf of President Muhammad Buhari a special message from the President of Nicaragua, Denis Ortega, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo noted that Nigeria and the Republic of Nicaragua share the same view on the need to strengthen existing bilateral relations and expand economic ties. And still on foreign affairs, harnessing the opportunities available to Nigeria in diaspora remittances for sustainable development is the focus of the Euro-Africa Dialogue on Migration. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, is advancing deeper exploration of the opportunities to grow the nation's economy through foreign direct investments, as well as resolve existing cross-national migration constraints. Onengiye Fineface reports.
African Dialogue on Migration and Development, Rabat Process, is an intergovernmental platform that paves way for comprehensive partnerships on migration and mobility between Africa and Europe. The workshop on diaspora remittances and sustainable development brings together partners from different countries with the aim of identifying opportunities available in the contribution of foreign nationals to the economy of their respective nations. As host, Nigeria is leveraging on the dialogue to further increase financial inflows from Nigerians abroad.
We believe that the Rabat process has provided a platform through which honest discussions can be held on migration and development, and that strong foundations can be created for future engagements and capacity building initiatives.
I know that there are a lot of innovative ideas out there. I think we need to be thinking out of the box in order to find solutions to a very significant challenge around irregular migration in the world.
And to find useful tools, instruments that will help remittances to contribute to sustainable development should not be divisive.
Supported largely by Belgium and the French Republic, the workshop seeks to aggregate expert capacity on how member nations can encourage better migration practices with focus on legal issues affecting migration, smuggling, human trafficking, return, readmission and reintegration of migrants, as well as available economic opportunities.
We need to look into how even the informal remittances can become formal. We need to look at the challenges they face in the remittances, the high levies, high taxes they have to pay on remittances, and then the informal ones, how can they be captured?
Discussions at the workshop are expected to create better awareness on how effective migration practices and policies will produce positive economic outcomes for Rabat Process member nations. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
For trending stories in other parts of the world, let's join Adebola Brooksland Sunday.
The International Crisis Group has warned that the war-torn South Sudan is edging towards a crisis and could slide back into fighting. The new report said the country's warring parties are not ready to form a coalition government on November 12th, when opposition leader Riek Machar is planning to return and once again serve as President Salva Kiir's deputy as part of a power-sharing agreement to pull the country out of a 5-year civil war that killed almost 400,000 people. Meanwhile, Israel's Supreme Court has upheld a government's decision to deport a Human Rights Watch official, Omar Shakir, accused of backing an international pro-Palestinian boycott campaign. A decree, it said, was aimed at quelling criticism of Israel. The court ratified an Interior Ministry refusal to renew the work visa of Omar Shakir and ordered him to leave within 20 days. In another development, the United States has begun the process agreement, notifying the United Nations of its intention to leave as other countries express regrets and disappointments. France and Japan have led international condemnation of the U.S. move. The notification, analysts say, begins a 1-year process of exiting the Global Climate Change Accord. The agreement brought together 188 nations to combat climate change. The U.S. government says the deal puts an unfair economic burden on Americans. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Thank you, Adebola. Now to sports. Nigeria battle ready for Netherlands at FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Brazil. Kene Imagbudige tells us more on Sports Update.
Nigeria's Golden Eaglets are set to battle the Netherlands for a place in the quarterfinals of FIFA Under-17 World Cup Wednesday morning in Brazil. The round of 16 fixture is slated for 12 midnight Nigeria time.
I believe if we work as a team, we will definitely progress to the next round.
Chieftains of the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF), including its president Amaju Pinnick, have been discharged and acquitted on all counts of alleged corruption charges in a case brought by the defunct Special Presidential Investigation Panel, SPIP. A release on the NFF website confirmed that Justice Ijoma Ojukwu of the Abuja High Court Tuesday dismissed the entire case with all 16 charges and acquitted the NFF chieftains in consideration of the submission of the defense and the prosecution and in line with the rules of administration of criminal justice. Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Tarling, has reassured on her commitment to the promotion of Ladies Professional Golfers Association of Nigeria. The minister was speaking in Abuja Tuesday when she received the Professional Players Council, who decorated her as a member of the association's board of trustees.
Ladies Professional Golfers Association of Nigeria is all about inspiring and empowering women to pick golf as a career.
In another development, the FCT Wushu Association has engaged over 100 youth in a one-day leadership seminar using the Chinese martial sport as a tool for imbibing healthy and dependable lifestyle as future leaders.
We're planning to use Wushu as a tool to promote this message of inclusiveness, of productiveness, and as well to use it as a tool to change the narrative for most of our young people.
The seminar was in collaboration with the China Cultural Center, Nigeria. With Sports Update, Kenan Ima Aborike, NTA News.
And before we go, let's take a quick look at the weather picture. And that ends the news at this hour on NTA International. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to join us at 9 for the Network News. Good evening.
Welcome to Nigeria, a fascinating country. Take a trip through one of the most beautiful places on earth. A journey of discovery. A unique opportunity to get in touch with unspoiled nature. Enjoy your time in a place that offers something for everyone. A land of beautiful contrasts. An experience you won't forget. Relax. Explore. Discover. Fascinating Nigeria.